Straight up, if you aren't training in season, you're setting yourself up for failure. Just being honest, but let's dive into it. In this episode, I'm going to break down 3 main reasons why I believe training in season is the most important time to be training. So let's get into it. So the typical trend in the baseball world is to train in the off season, and then once practices and games start in the spring, just completely stop training. And to be completely honest, you're setting yourself up for failure, and this is why. So the number one reason that I believe training in season is the most important time to be training is the swing. Obviously, I'm a hitting coach. Obviously, I'm very passionate and enthusiastic about the swing. I believe the swing is super, super, super important to be successful. But the main reason why I think it's important is because athletes spend all this time building up efficient movements. And typically, they feel like they're in a really good place mechanically, swing-wise, going into the season. The thing is, though, is about 2 weeks into the season, they're going to slowly start to fall into poor habits, start to slowly fall into poor movements. And probably by 4 to 6 weeks, they're going to be completely out of sorts mechanically or swing-wise. They're going to feel like they're completely out of whack. So what that means is by the time the games start, their swing is feeling the worst when it matters the most. And I just don't understand that. So for context, basically every professional hitter that I work with, it's basically pretty consistently like every 2 weeks they feel completely out of whack and feel like they've completely lost their swing. 2 weeks. Those are the best hitters in the world that feel like after 2 weeks they kind of lose their swing. They got to kind of develop new feels, new routines to kind of get them back into their clean movements. So those are for some of the best hitters in the world. So what do you think your high school junior, for example, is dealing with the second he gets into season? And number one leads straight into number two. And the number two reason why I believe you need to be training in season is the mindset, mental, right? The second the swing starts feeling off, right? That's where our mind kind of starts to snowball, go down the rabbit hole, fall off the train track, right? Once our swing feels off, confidence-wise, we feel like we can't execute in the box. We're typically not focusing on executing our plan because we're so focused on the swing. And then typically we just kind of, maybe our timing gets off because our movements are off, right? Maybe we start jumping and rolling over stuff that we know we should be crushing because our swing is off. And then that all just plays into the mental side of it, where you feel like you're not confident to execute your approach. You feel like you're not confident to get your A swing off every single time you want to, right? And I think it's super important that hitters are able to kind of go through at bats, or at least have someone that they can talk through at bats, talk through mindset, talk through approach. But again, I believe that being off with the swing directly goes into the approach and the mindset and the confidence, feeling like they can't execute in the game. And those are super, super important, right? We don't want that confidence to go in the tank, right? But sometimes, their swing is feeling good, but their mindset's off because they don't know if they're attacking the right things. They don't know if they're swinging at the right pitches, stuff like that. So they kind of go hand in hand. The third reason why I believe you should be training in season is the body, right? Too many athletes train in the off season, right? Pretty common, right? Guys will train the off season, whether they're working with a strength coach or on a strength program or just kind of training on their own, right? They spend the whole off season trying to get their body building strength, building explosiveness, building power, building speed. And then the second the season starts, right, they just completely abandon it. Oh, I got games, I got practice, I'm pretty tired. And what you don't see is the long-term toll that takes on your body. Now, talking from personal experience, I am 100% guilty of completely neglecting strength training once I get to the season, right? Especially in college, right? Long practices. I was an outfielder, leadoff guy, so I'm running a lot on the bases. My legs feel pretty tired. And last thing I want to do is go get in the weight room, right? And in my head, I'm like, I don't want to spend an hour lifting weights, right? Probably got to do homework, this, that, whatever. And what I noticed is this started to completely lead to various injuries throughout my career. I had hamstring issues because my hamstrings were getting really weak. I wasn't continually maintaining them and building them up. I had hip flexor issues, knee issues because I was getting weak in certain areas and my body had to kind of compensate. And then even like shoulder issues, back issues, stuff like that. And I believe it's because I kind of neglected it. As I started getting older in my career, I started making it a key priority to be training in season. And I noticed that most of my injuries started going away, right? And what's super important is to know is in-season training does not mean I need to go back to doing 4 or 5 days a week, hour and a half lifts. Not at all. The main focus of in-season lifting should be to maintain our base that we built in the off season, right? We want to maintain that base. But we also want to kind of continue to build strength, because what guys do is they don't lift in season. Say, let's go the spring and summer without lifting. And then we have to spend the whole fall building up that base again to get to where we were strength wise at the end of the off season. So half the year we're just spent trying to catch up to where we were. Think of the difference you can make strength wise, body wise, if we kind of continue growing. Then we don't need that phase for 4 or 6 months where we're kind of building back up to where we were. So it's super, super, super important. And now, again, before you say, oh, I don't really have time to lift in season lifts literally do not have to be that long, 30 minutes. Okay. So for example, athletes at Zeal, like we have 2 lifts a week, super simple. We have one during the week that's more power speed emphasis. We're just trying to stay explosive, stay fresh in our legs, stay fresh in our body, stay healthy, right? Get the blood flowing. Just to, as we're playing games during the week, helps us feel good, feel confident, feel like our body's in a good position to execute, whether it's throwing, hitting, running, whatever it is. And then our second lift of the week is more of a strength emphasis, right? We're trying to keep building that strength. Again, it's probably cut down the sets. We're probably only doing 2 sets instead of 4 of a main lift. But again, we're just trying to build up our strength, continue to maintain that base and build. It kind of also resets the body. Again, like for example, for me, like my hamstrings would get super weak. Me doing a hamstring focused lower body lift, even if it's 2 sets, just trying to build up that strength and honestly refresh my body and reset for the week. So again, 2 days a week, not super hard, just to maintain, but also like keep your body fresh, keep your body in a position to be explosive, to be powerful, to be strong, right? Super, super, super important. So again, my athletes have a simple structure for in-season training. Whether it's in-house athletes that I train here at Zeal, or if it's athletes that I work with remotely, they have their strength programming right on my facility training app. Make sure that they're consistent, right? It's right on their phone, whether they're lifting at school after practice, whether they're able to come in here and get their lift in, especially for like college athletes, right? They have access to a weight room. They can get those lifts in, whatever works around their schedule, right? As long as it's spaced properly. So that's super easy, strength training wise. In-house athletes have the opportunity to come in weekly, train with myself, and those are super, super beneficial sessions, right? We're able to kind of see where we're at movement-wise, make sure that we can kind of fine-tune, get back to, back to those efficient movements, those positive swing movements, but also we're able to kind of go through at bats, right? A lot of athletes film at bats or parents film at bats. We're able to go through at bats, see how our timing is, right? See our swing decisions, make sure that what we were thinking kind of aligns with the approach that we've kind of built all off season swing wise and approach swing decision wise, right? But then also a big part of it, right, isn't just coming in, let's change a bunch of things as a hitting coach, right? My biggest thing when guys come in season is like, hey, how do I make sure that this athlete going into this next week is super confident, feel like their moves are in a good place, whether we're doing easy stuff on the machine to kind of feel some stuff out, or like, hey, swing's in a good place, let's just challenge, double machine, whatever it is, just to kind of attack and make sure that we can still execute. Building up confidence is super, super important. So again, just the idea of the mental side of like coming in, talking through some at bats, making sure I'm not overthinking or changing too much. Sometimes an athlete comes in, they're like, hey, I think my swing's off, blah, blah, blah. And we look at the video, it's like, nope, swing was good, timing just sucked. We need to work on, say, loading earlier, for instance, right? Sometimes just having that like, okay, I can take a deep breath. I'm really not that far off. I just got to kind of stick to the plan, stick to the approach and attack. That's super, super important. So again, my guys in-house at Zeal are coming in weekly, usually on the weekends, right? Just to kind of make sure, okay, movement-wise, we're in a good place, approach-wise, we're in a good place, and I feel confident going to my next week of 3-4 games that I can attack, and see the results that I'm looking for, right? My remote hitters, right? They have a little bit more convenience where they have 24/7 access to me, right? They have my training app, whether it's them sending at bats, just sending swings to get breakdowns, just to kind of make sure, again, movement-wise, we're in a good place, and then I can kind of from there, adjust their hitting plans for the week to make sure they're kind of attacking things to keep their swing fine-tuned, keep their movements kind of high level and efficient. So again, whether you're working with me or not, again, I'm just kind of giving my breakdown of how my athletes train in season. Whether you're working with me or not, you absolutely need to continue training in season, right? The best hitters in the world, they're training every single day. That's the other thing I see is like people will come in, they'll say, oh, thanks for the off-season work. If we're ever feeling off, we'll come in. And I always say like, okay, I would stay consistent, right? Because what happens is, the slump can go for 2 weeks. Okay, he's really feeling off. Let's go see Dave. Versus like every week, maybe he has 2 bad games. Okay, let's readjust. Now we're back on track. 2 weeks slumping versus 2 games is a lot different, right? Let's be more consistent as hitters. And if you're coming in consistently, you're getting that consistent work, making sure everything's good, I think you'll notice how much more consistent you or your athlete will be throughout the season. True development is 365 days a year, right? Going all in means training year round because the best hitters in the world train all year round, right? They need weekly fine tunes. They need daily fine tuning of their swing, of their movements, right? And obviously they're consistently lifting and doing the stuff they need to do in the weight room to maintain and keep building, right? Again, if you're interested in remote programming for myself and want to make sure that you're getting everything you need, if you're that type of athlete that wants to work hard, wants to continue building and maintaining throughout the season, make sure your swing staying consistent. The link for information on remote training with myself is in the description, so feel free to click on that. That will give you a contact form to get in touch with me, and we can kind of see if you're a good fit. That's all I have for this week. Again, I just want to make sure that as an athlete, right, always keep growing, keep learning, and just know that I'm here for you if anything you need, right? So we'll see you guys on the next week's episode and go get after it.